Welcome to Independent American Forum. This channel is not affiliated with any political party, special interest group, or political action committee. My name is Steve. I am an independent, that is, unaffiliated voter, and I am not running for public office. I am making these videos because I love our constitutional republic, and I believe the United States Constitution is currently hanging, as it were, by a single thread. Welcome to Independent American Forum. Today I'm going to talk about something that I believe is a threat to our democratic republic, and that is that many Americans do not understand the need for evidence and logic in intelligent public discourse. Now, in order to explain this just a little bit further, I'm going to go back to the year 399 BC. In 399 BC, there was an important trial going on in a very important city. A teacher, a philosopher, was on trial for his life. The prosecutor was a man named Meletus. The teacher was being accused of blasphemy and corrupting the youth of the city. And they held that trial for some time, and at the end of it, the teacher, the philosopher, was found guilty. And he was given his choice. He could leave the city forever, or he could be put to death. Well, the philosopher's name was Socrates. Now, Socrates himself did not leave any writings of his own. Everything that we know about Socrates was because his students wrote about it. The most famous of those was Plato. And Plato wrote two books where they're all about Socrates. The first of those is called The Apology of Socrates. In this sense, the word apology does not mean when you go around saying, I'm sorry I did this and I'm sorry I did that. It comes from the Greek word apologia, which means a formal defense of a position. And so when Socrates was talking about the apology of Socrates, he's talking about the formal defense that Socrates made in his own trial. Among other things, Socrates said the leaders of Athens, that was the city, do not deserve to be leaders here. First of all, they can give no coherent reason why they're any wiser or any better leaders than anybody else. And second of all, they cannot even carry on an intelligent, logical debate because they don't understand what that means. And that was really the reason that they had him on trial for blasphemy and for corrupting the youth of the city. In that defense that Socrates made, there's a famous speech that's called the gadfly speech. And Socrates said, I'm like a gadfly, and the city-state, Athens, is like a noble steed. Because of its very size, it's hard to get it to stir to action and to change something. And so it needs a gadfly who's going to come and bite it and sting it and stir it up to action. He also said, you folks here in this trial who are watching this may think that I'm here to defend myself for my own benefit. But that is not true. I'm here for your benefit, because you need to understand the importance, the crucial importance of being able to use logic and evidence. And leaders who don't use logic and evidence are essentially demagogues. Well, I would like to suggest to you that that's still true. We have a number of leaders and a number of propagandists who are the lapdogs of the would-be tyrants, the would-be demagogues, who simply refused to present any coherent, cogent logic or evidence about the claims that they make. I want to tell you about Plato's second book. It's even more famous than the Apology of Socrates, and that one is called The Republic. Well, Plato's Republic is something that classical scholars have studied for generations. Our founding fathers, when they studied history at William and Mary College, or at Harvard, or one of the other few universities that date back that far, they were studying classical history. They went back and studied the Greeks. And one of the things that they would have read, very possibly cover to cover, and would have had a number of assignments that they had to discuss and answer in class, was the Republic. Well, in the Republic, most of the conversations that are recorded in there are conversations between Socrates and some other person. Some of those other persons may have been fictional characters that Plato just put in there to illustrate a point. Some of them were known politicians. Some of them were other students of Socrates who wanted to be philosophers, so they were philosophers in training. According to Plato, when Socrates wanted to hold a conversation and have somebody prove something, they had to go through certain crucial steps. And without going through those steps, he didn't think that they were holding a real logical debate. So here are the steps. Number one, the person making the contending, wanting to prove something, had to first of all make a thesis statement. Here's what I'm trying to prove. And then the second thing was that person had to define his terms carefully, so that he couldn't change his terms sort of mid-argument and then go back and do that. And that happens a lot in, it's a logical fallacy. I can't remember what the name of that logical fallacy is, but that happens in a lot of public discourse. Well, then the next thing that happened was that the person had to present logical arguments. And Socrates kind of listed some of the kinds of logical argument that he thought were appropriate. First, deductive reasoning. Well, Socrates and Plato and Aristotle and a number of other classical scholars thought a great deal of deductive reasoning. Sometimes their deductive reasoning was just brilliant. Other times it was kind of flawed. But we'll leave that for another time to discuss that. Another kind of argument that Socrates considered useful was what they call analog. That's Socrates' word, not mine. Analog means reasoning by analogy. For instance, if you could show that something happened a certain way in nature, then the next time you looked at a phenomenon in nature, it's very likely that it would occur in an analogous way to the way it occurred the first time. So Socrates called that analog. I guess I'd call that analogous reasoning. A third way is inductive reasoning. We were talking about phenomena in nature. If something happened one way in nature and you had observed it and a number of other people had observed that, and then the second time it happened that way, and then the third time it happened that way, and then the fourth time it happened that way, well, by the time you got to 100 or something, you could logically conclude that this is the way things usually happen in nature, and that's called inductive reasoning. Reasoning from a mass of observations to find a conclusion that you hope is always true. It's not always true in inductive reasoning, but nearly always, and you can kind of conclude that it probably happens that way. Well, at the end, then you had to kind of sum up and say that you had kind of proved your case. The tradition in American education, particularly in American graduate schools, that a graduate student must write a thesis and then must defend that thesis by oral arguments, comes directly from Plato's Republic, from what Plato said Aristotle insisted on. And this was one of the major deficits that Socrates contended the leaders of Athens did not do well, did not understand how to do. Now, I would like to suggest something to you. I would like to suggest that we have political leaders today who do not know how to use logical argument. Rather than using logical arguments, they use character assassination. They use unproven conspiracy theories, and they want people to believe them just because they said something is true. Socrates would not have bought that, and neither should we. And I kind of wonder if in a democratic republic, if it shouldn't be a requirement that its citizens learn to use logical argument and learn to identify logical fallacies in argument. I'd also like to suggest to you that it's important for citizens to understand history. I am concerned about the United States of America. I'm concerned that our democratic republic is today hanging, as it were, by a single thread. And I'm concerned that our leaders, particularly some of the current leaders of the Republican Party, are deliberate demagogues and would-be dictators. And you can identify these people easily by their inability to use real logic and real evidence. May God bless the United States. May God preserve the United States and our Constitution. Thank you. You are invited to join this cause, the cause of saving our democratic republic and the United States Constitution. You can send your comments and suggestions to independentsteve1776@gmail.com. Independent Steve 1776 is all written as one word. You can also send me a link to a video you have made and let me know if you are interested in airing it on this channel. All videos on this channel must be well thought out and well documented. No propaganda or undocumented conspiracy theories. Thank you. Please like this video and forward it to your friends. Please subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell